Hey guys, welcome to the Legacy Podcast, episode number one. Today we will be focusing on meta discussion with a special guest. I'm sure most of you guys already know him, but to those who don't, I would like to introduce you with Mr. Rishi. So, how are you doing today, Mr. Rishi?
You know what, Saga? I'm doing pretty dang good. For those who don't know, I am a competitive Temtem player and streamer and part of the Legacy community. What have you been up to, Saga?
I've been having a great week this week. I was really focusing on some stuff, making a team, and in real life, I've been trying to learn some cooking to be honest, because Nikki's actually out of town for this week. So I've been focusing on
Ooh,
some cooking as well. What about you? How's your week been going so far?
honestly, the week's been really good. Had like a mini vacation. I didn't go anywhere, but my significant other came here to visit. But in Temtem, I personally haven't changed my team at all since the not this most recent patch, but the patch before is 0.7.5. Haven't changed my team at all since then because my team has been proving to be pretty sturdy lately. So yeah.
I mean, that is one more thing, but have you been playing like competitive a lot as well, or were you taking a small break as well? Because of the last week, there were a lot of bugs showing up in competitive matches. People were losing matches because of some bugs and stuff. They are mostly fixed right now, but what were your thoughts on it? Were you playing ladder even then, or were you taking a small break as well for that week?
So I didn't take a full break. I wasn't streaming Temtem as much during that week. Um, because of like people not playing on ladder as much because of those glitches. But when it came time, like after stream, if I wanted to play some games, I wouldn't actually go on ladder. Instead, I would ask clubmates to scrim me or like other good Temtem players to scrim me and stuff like that. So I was still playing competitive Temtem. It just wasn't on ladder per se.
I mean, that is completely understandable, and I see why would you do that. I was personally doing the same thing as well for very little time that I did play Temtem in this week when I was around. Now, before we jump into the meta discussion, I would have a basic question for you, which would be, as you know, probably today was just a patch to fix all the bugs that we were facing regarding the black screen, the crashes, and stuff. But with that, they
Yep.
also added six new animations. They are Fury Soul, Piezoelectric Blow, Genrify, Charged Iron Filings, Bright Beam, and Purgation. Which one do you think cosmetically looks the best to you?
Oh, dude, that's a hard question. I actually haven't seen Generify's animation yet. I've seen every single one except for Generify, but not including Generify, I would have to say either Piezoelectric Blow or Charged Iron Filings, but I'm leaning more towards Piezoelectric Blow.
I am on the Charged Iron Filings team. I kind of really like that. I'm digging that move. I've been using it a lot more now. Like I'm literally gonna put a Ragnet on my team and maybe even make a new Ragnet team just for that. It looks really good. Now,
Now, as much as I love it, the only problem I have with it is that it looks very similar to Quartz Dirt. That's the only problem I have with it.
that is so true actually. Now, tell me something else as well. While we are in this discussion of patch and adding stuff, we've had a couple of new patches actually in the last few weeks if we pay attention to it. So, one of the most important ones, I believe at least, was the four new items being added in the shape of Mom's Lunch, the Morale's Whip, Fake Beard, Redirection Device, and I believe there was a fifth one as well. I can't remember, but which one of these do you think is the most meta shifting item? Like, I'm pretty sure after the introduction of these items, aggro went a little bit down, because other playstyles
Yeah.
started coming up a little bit because of exhaust and stuff. So, what do you think changed the most? Which item from those?
So honestly, I'm not 100% sure. Ooh, okay, so I think that either fake beard or Growl Growlbag was probably the most influential, and I should probably actually answer the actual question, which is which playstyle changed the most. Um, I would have to say, oh, this one's hard. I would have to
I
say
can.
affected aggro the most probably.
I see. So I'll rephrase my question for you. So let's just say you said fake beard is really good, right? So how do you think fake
Yeah.
beard stacks up against sweatband, and when would you use one item over the other?
Okay, so I've actually put a decent amount of thought into this. Fake beard is a very is fills a similar job as Sweatband, but it's going to be on a different playstyle of Tem. It can be on the same Tem, or it can be on. You can have one team with Amphitheater with Fake Beard, but then have a different team with Amphitheater with Sweatband on it. Okay, but the
Mm-hmm.
spreads of those amphitheaters and the playstyle of those amphitheaters, I bet, are going to be very different, and the jobs that you want them to do. Sweatband is going to be on Thames that you want to stay on the field for a very long time, such as Cernith, most amphitheaters. Well, not most amphitheaters, but like Volfies, Cerniths, uh, Volarens, especially, stuff like that, or anaerobic Volarens, I should say. On the other hand, fake beard are going to be on Thames that you want to go on the field, do their job, and then get off the field.
Something
Okay,
like a
because
Banshee, right? Because
yes, something
it
like a
can do
Banshee, something like
Hypnoxia and Tornado. Like both of those cost 60 normally, but if you have the fake beard, then it's just 30 stamina for both of them together, which is such insane damage
yep.
if you think of it, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's insane. Like Banshee, Volcarine, Tuvine, Turok, the pretty much all the two birds, not including Tolkien and Tukai. Um, like there are a lot more candidates for fake beard in my opinion, which is really cool. But those type of Tems aren't going to be on the field for a whole lot of time, and they need to have high stamina moves to get value out of it, right? If they have low stamina moves, but they're going to be on the field for a long time, or even medium stamina moves, then you're going to be wanting sweatband on them if you really need sweatband, like a stamina item on them.
I
Um,
mean, that is certainly
and then
true.
yeah, and then also I was talking about anaerobic Valorant earlier. I think fake beard aerobic Valorant actually has a place. I don't know if it's gonna be super good, but I've seen some people use it, and it doesn't seem too bad, honestly. Being able to go feather galling into hyperkinetic strike without overexerting yourself or coming close to overexerting yourself seems really nice.
I mean, absolutely. So, one more question I had is, other than what do you call it, fake beard, every single new item that has been added, I believe, has a disadvantage as well. Like, Mom's Lunch gives exhaustion to your partner team Temtem as well. The whip actually gives, +1 speed but reduces 33% stamina as well. So my question would be, which one of these, like, are you okay with drawback of which one, and which item would you use on a consistent basis? Like,
Um, so I guess I guess the one that I would use more on a consistent basis because gravel bag technically you have a drawback to if you're putting it on any tem, right?
correct.
Um, that being, uh, like if you put it on Volphy, you're not gonna want a Volphy, right?
Hmm.
Gravel bag's a very niche item. It doesn't really have a drawback actually. Now that I think about it, um, but
Makes.
if we don't include gravel bag, if we don't include fake beard, I would say mom's lunch would be the one that I would use more consistently because I can play around that a lot easier. I can play around exhaustion a lot easier than I can losing 35% of my stamina, right? I
Yeah.
can, if I rest, if I double swap, then mom's lunch essentially doesn't affect me, right? It makes double swapping stronger when one of those Tems that's coming in is a mom's lunch user. Um, on the other hand, if I swap in like mom's lunch Sarnif. Don't use that. That's a horrible idea. And my partner Volfi is on low stamina. I just rest on Volfi if I don't want to swap that Volfi out, right? And then the
Correct.
exhaustion didn't do anything to me. But if I rest that Volfi and it's a whip Sarnif and it loses 35% of its stamina and then rests, I'm going to be at much lower stamina than I was than if I was just exhausted and rested that turn, right?
That is definitely true. So I get the point what you're saying. You would rather deal with exhaust on the monk lunge than with 33% less stamina from the whip, even though the
Yeah, the
plus one
35%.
speed is going to be there. So
Yep.
another
And now
question. Go ahead.
and now I think that the reason why I say that though is probably because of the play style of team that I usually use. I usually use mid-range teams for those who don't know. And because of that, I don't really have much use for using the whip. The plus speed of the whip doesn't really affect me much.
That is true. Well, I've been using whip a lot in my current team that I have. I don't know if you saw it, but I had a nice focus team in which I was using it on Mehmet and I was literally using it to speed up my focus and Adoraboros. So if my Adoraboros even got like plus one speed, it would like literally start hypnosising Voloran before it even moves, and then I could just gamma burst it out or psychic collab it out, and it was working pretty good. But that's only because I was not in need of stamina, because slowdown
Yeah,
only
that makes
costs
sense.
me 8 stamina and psychic collaborator is 19 stamina. They are not stamina drains, so I could afford that
Yeah.
33% of stamina gone.
Yep, that makes sense.
Now another question I had is, you probably know redirection device. Do you
Yep.
ever think that you will use redirection device on a consistent basis, and if you do, then on which time would you do it?
Ooh, I don't think on a consistent basis, but the only way that I can think of redirection device being like usable
Used.
on a team is
Mm-hmm.
if you have like a irid mental coish and the rest of your team is really weak to digital, or like or even irid digital or irid melee coish, and you put the redirection device on that irid coish. That could be interesting, honestly. Do I see it being very widespread? No, I think it's much more niche.
That is true. So, well, now let's get into the spicy stuff of the discussion, which is, as you probably know, with this patch, we saw the death of Oceara as it actually lost aquatic whirlwind. Do you think this nerf was an overkill or it was a much deserved nerf?
So I think it was a lot harder than a lot of people thought it was going to be. Do I think it was a deserved nerf? Yes. I think Oceara is still usable. I just think it's outclassed at the moment. Do we see that happen with other Tems? Yes, we do. I honestly think Hydrologist Oceara could be better because if I remember correctly, well, actually never mind. I take that back. You still want the Hurry Warp for Sabatio's turn 2, but
Mm-hmm.
um, you have Water Blade now. It's not as aggro of a Tem anymore. I think this is so a lot of people are like, hey, a good meta would have full stall, have stall be viable, have aggro be viable, and have mid range be viable. I disagree with them heavily. The reason why is because time and time again, with the current mechanics of the game, we see that if full stall is viable, if full aggro is viable, it tends to be too centralizing on the meta. For those who do not know what that means, it means it's too powerful, pretty much, for the meta to be able to expand and flourish. And it's like kind of like imagine it as like constricting the meta's throat almost and choking it to death, right? Um, and we saw that with stall before aggro became prevalent in pre-Kisiwa and even during Yaller Kinu craze. And then we saw it with aggro when Oceara was prevalent and during a little bit during Ketsa, but like you could argue either side, honestly. Like Ketsa was weird. I don't know. When Ketsa first got released, it was weird. It was mostly aggro though for Ketsa.
Yes.
Um,
Now, I had
but
another question for you regarding Oceara. Would you think
okay.
it would be okay if they kept Aquatic Whirlwind but removed, say, Tsunami? Because Wrath was, say, two holds, so Wrath. Maybe they removed either Tsunami or Wrath and not actually Aquatic Whirlwind. Or do you think it would be the same thing? Because that move itself
Oh,
was giving
I
us it the potential of being aggro.
I no, I think if you so I what I was thinking they were gonna do. It's a bit clunky from a game design perspective, and it can be a bit confusing to new players. But I thought they were gonna take away Hurry Wart or and make it so that Hurry Wart gave it like a special type of Hurry Wart that only procced once per match. That's but like when you look at that from from an outside perspective, that looks a bit funky from game design perspective, right? Or from game
Correct.
design wise.
Yeah, that is
Um,
correct.
if you take away Wrath or Tsunami, that solves absolutely zero of the problems that Oceara was the reason why Oceara was so strong. That being that it could acquire Roland, take half of Tem's health, and if it wasn't half of Tem's health, if it was super effective, it was taking all of the Tem's health. Um, and then swap out, and then literally it could come in after a death and get another kill essentially, or finish something off weak. That was the biggest thing. If you didn't kill it in a turn, it got off so much value. In two
Yeah,
turns, you usually killed it, but it still got off so much value unless it stayed in against two toxic Tems, right? That was the biggest part.
that is true. So with Oceara going down the tier list, or let's just say down the power spike, like from the food chain, it definitely dropped. How do you think the meta has now shifted? Do you think some teams are being really benefited by that, or you think stuff is still looking sturdy other than Oceara itself?
Honestly, I think the meta is in. I've been playing since the first meta. Well, not including alpha. We,
Okay.
I didn't play in alpha, but I've been playing since Takuma pre alerted status. Um, but and then pre hypno buff. And I have to say, in my opinion, this is the best meta we've had as of now. From what I've seen so far, this is the best meta. And what does that mean? That means to me that things are flourishing. Many different archetypes are being able to be used. Uh, you can have teams with stall modes in them. You can have teams with aggro modes in them. You can have teams with neither of those modes in them. Um, we still have top tier Temtem, that being like arguably Yowler, Amphitheater, Tolkien, right?
Mehmet is also
But
being picked a lot.
yeah, Mimit's a contentious one though. I don't
Yeah,
know if
it's
contentious is the right
really
word for it.
it's a debate when it comes to Mehmet.
Yeah,
But
but
again, I think I kind of
the three I
agree.
listed,
Yeah, I think I kind of
I
agree with you as you say, just because I've been playing since Kisiva or before Kisiva actually myself, and I really think that this meta is actually one of the best that I have played as well. Because just even in ladder, you see so many variety right now. Like you play one match and it's a sleeping opponent. The next match you queue into is probably gonna be an aggro. The one after that is something like burst quad, digital quad fire. You see so many variations right now. People are literally
yeah,
trying stuff, and I think that's the best time to play Temtem
yeah,
right now, to be honest, in PvP. Like, people are experimenting. No one is playing like a fixed meta kind of thing. Because one
yeah.
patch before, it was completely stall, where people were playing a lot of stall. Then they nerfed Cerny for a bit, and then Fire Coach came in, and it was full aggro kind of thing. So it was always
Yep,
shifting a little bit in one favor of one archetype. But this is the patch, I think, where it's looking really balanced kind of thing, where everything is being played or everything is being tested by people. Even though it's not
yeah,
perfectly balanced, but still everything is being tested by people, and people are trying new stuff, which is something I really enjoy playing against.
yeah. I agree. Um, like it's been really nice to play the game. Honestly, I personally have found a team that I've really loved. I talked about it a little bit already. Um, it's been pumping out the golds. It's been doing what I've wanted it to do, and it's my favorite like core that I haven't been able to use since early Kisua meta, which was, in my opinion, previously the best meta. Like the one with a lot of which it was more stall oriented. Don't get me wrong. As much as I hate stall, I do think that that was one of the best metas because of how diverse it was. Um, Right now, I'm using a triple fire, triple nature team. And my lord, is it so much fun to use, in my opinion. Um, it has Volcrane on it, a receptive Volcrane, which I never, ever, ever thought was going to be good. If you asked me in Tugma, hey, you think receptive Volcrane's ever going to be good? I would have looked at you, called you crazy, and said no. Okay. And holy cow, that is my favorite temp to use now. Fake Beard receptive Volcrane with Stone Trench is stonks. Okay.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you, like, after this discussion, I was just gonna get into that point that one term in specific that benefited a lot from Oceara Nerf is like Volcrane, and it is a term that you have been having a lot of success with after this patch onwards. And I was just gonna ask you, tell us how good does it feel? Like, does this term feel right now, and what tips would you give to players interested in picking it up? Because a lot of people are looking up at Volcrane right now to pick it up.
So, Valkyrie, in my opinion, was actually even good when Oceara was like king or queen. It just wasn't as good as it is now. It was a much more niche. But now it's amazing. I think it's extremely good as an earth. It's extremely good as a fire. Really depends on the team with how you're gonna run it. On my team, I like to run a speedy Valkyrie with
Mm-hmm.
receptive fake beard, like I was saying. But on most teams, especially mid-range teams, you are gonna or mid-range to aggro teams. Or sorry. Let me restate that. On aggro teams, you're gonna be wanting to run a fast, vigorous Valkyrie, or
Correct.
aggro mid-range teams, like a combination of the two. That's because, and you're probably gonna want to be running gravel bag on it with soil seam. That's what I've seen that put in a good amount of work. Because vigorous soil seam can really hurt the opponent. It can do a lot of damage to a Musha because it's actually hitting on the special side because it's soil seam special move, but it uses your attack and it still gets the vigorous bonus. Then when it comes to mid-range teams, I honestly think receptive is probably better than vigorous on mid-range, and this is my reason. On aggro, you want it to come out, do 3 moves, and on the third one, OX, and do a shit ton of damage. Okay.
I see.
Um,
So, what did you or like? What would you say is the drawbacks for Volcrane? Like, what do people need to be careful of? Of course, other than the waters that are lurking around, what do you
yeah,
think
so
Volcrane struggles with?
waters, like you said, and special moves are the biggest ones. Um, and things with like things that can just it really depends on the team because how
Mm-hmm.
I built my team, my Volcrane is covered. Like the weakness of my Volcrane can be shored up by my other teammates, right? Like I have a triple fire team, so yeah, they're all weak to water, but one of those fires is a Scarab, which can 1v1 most waters in the game. Actually, I think
Correct.
all of them if they're because it's half full and stuff like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
while so Volcrane and Tolkien are the ones that are really vulnerable to fires, essentially, or waters. But then I have 3 natures and 1 toxic, or 2 toxics actually, but one of them's a
Correct.
mid, so it
Correct.
overlapped. And they completely destroy waters, right?
I
So
see.
um, I would say that special moves are like the biggest threat to you. If you're using if you're using Volcrane as an endgame win con in a specific game, because you're not going to be using Volcrane as an endgame win con all the time.
Correct.
Um, or even a win con in general all the time. You're gonna want to be getting rid of those waters and special attackers, or like you have to play around 3 prios, or the I think it's called super prio.
Yeah.
Oh,
Super
the 3,
priors.
yeah. Um, You're gonna have to play around those, and you're gonna have to keep your Volcrane at enough health to tank one of those, depending on what you're trying to kill on the enemy team with Volcrane. Knowing what you can take and what you can't take is a huge part of being able to play Volcrane. Knowing how much chip you can take before you can't take like a super effective move is also a big part.
That is so so true. So I'm gonna ask you about the team composition that your famous Volcrane has found itself in. So this team composition consists of Mashuk, Nidrasil, Cernif, Wolfie, Volcrane, Scaravolt, Tulkin, and Banshee. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
Tell
yes, that's
us
the current
how
iteration
does
we're in.
that team tick for you? Like, how is that team treating you? I mean, we have all been seeing that you've been winning tournaments with that team. How many tournaments did you actually win with this team so far?
So far, knock on wood, I've won 4 tournaments in a row. Okay. Um, but this team I have won 0 tournaments with. The previous team, no, I've won 1 tournament with this one, but I
Yeah.
won 3 tournaments with this same exact team, except I had, um, I had Tukai over Barnchi. But then, Yowler is coming back. Time to switch, Tukai to Barnchi now, right? Um, and so my favorite part about this team is I don't know. I've just always loved using triple fire because it's such a cool. I love the fire typing, and
Mm-hmm.
having triple fire on a team is like it's something that so I came from competitive Pokemon. I should give some backstory. I came from
Correct.
competitive Pokemon VGC. Okay, type stacking is horrible in that game. If you type stack in competitive doubles in Pokemon, you are gonna have a very weak team to a certain thing. Okay, and so I came to Temtem, and I love this typing fire, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then when I actually start getting good at the game, or at least decent, I I start figuring out, hey, type stacking is not too bad in this game, and I'm able to run 3 fires. And I thought that was so much fun. And it was also the first tournament, like it was the first tournament I actually got close to winning. It was Roadhouse Rumble, the first Roadhouse Rumble, and I got 4th place at it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was because of a triple fire team I used that I had thrown together in uh like 30 minutes or something like that. And
I
I don't
see.
know what happened. I just clicked with it. It was just so much fun to use. I loved it. And my love for triple fire since then has carried on.
I mean, I did try a team with Fire Chromion, Hedgene, and Tilkin, and I can tell you it is a lot of fun, like Triple Fire, Hellfire Spam, or anything. I mean, stacking up in this game
Yeah.
is not as bad as it could sound. Someone might say
Yeah,
that, oh, you
exactly.
might have this weakness, this is just gonna kill you. But if you get your weaknesses covered up with something else, then you are kind of good as long as you're swapping at the correct time and you know what you're doing with to protect your win conditions, depending on
Well,
match
yeah.
to match,
Well,
you
right
know.
now, currently the best player in Temtem, Matt Gia, Esnar Plat, is
Mm-hmm.
using a quad toxic team, right?
Correct.
If you cannot make the argument that type stacking isn't good in Temtem when the best player right now is using a quad toxic team, right?
I mean, he literally uses Toxic in every single patch consistently. He doesn't care what the meta is, he still plays it right. He knows how to adapt with the meta and he still sticks with the Toxic. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't he playing like since the start? Whenever he plays, he's been playing Toxic teams? Did he ever
Yes, even
change from
in
Toxic teams?
nope, even in Takma, um, even in Takma, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
mind you, for those who don't know the Takma meta, you had at minimum, oh, let me see, you had at minimum 3 wins, probably at minimum 2 wins. You had most likely 3 wins with like 4 turbo choreography users. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind that this is in the meta of Heat Up Gaialis. Okay.
I believe
So,
Gialis had Hitouchi as well, right? With Heat
yes,
Up?
and Haitouchi. Yep. Um, and he was still he was easily top 3 player then. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you had at minimum 2 to 3 wins on each team.
I see. Well, yeah, it is true. The stacking can still work in Temtem as long as the player knows what he's doing, how to protect them. It should quite be working, I would say, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you the next question. With 4 tournaments won since this match, you have been one of the hot cookies of this match, and you can even say one of the top tier players playing around. Would you consider yourself to be the best player in Temtem PvP scene right now? I'm not talking about
Oh
the
no,
past, right now.
no. Um,
Well,
I do not consider myself the best at the moment. Not until I can look at Tort's Garden. Okay, if I can look at Tort Knight's Garden and I can go to the leader page and I can look at Elo and I can see a shear up there. Okay, at above 2K elo and above SNR plat, I do not consider myself the best Temtem player.
Would you at least
Even then,
place?
even
Go ahead.
then, okay,
Mhm.
even once that happens, it's gonna take some convincing of myself. Like I'm not gonna need to be above SNR plat. I'm gonna need to be ahead
Above the
above.
rest. Ah, I
Yes,
see.
exactly. That's
So,
when I'll consider myself the best player.
would you at least place yourself right now in the top 5 or top 10 at least? Would you? Or would you still
Well,
think that you're
yes.
gonna be? Yes. Go ahead.
Well, if we're I base my I don't know if this is obviously this is an opinion, but I base most of my opinions off of the ELO leaderboard at the moment because
Okay.
I don't really like ladder isn't the best way of it's a good way of honing your skills, but it's not the best way of
Judging
gauging your
someone.
skills.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Um and right now I would place myself in the top 10, yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. So, who would you consider your rival in this patch? For example, someone who you think might always give you a clash and give you a really hard match, regardless of what team you make.
Ooh, give me a really hard match no matter what team I make.
Like, you don't want to face that person in a tournament because you know that he can either, read you. He just knows what you're gonna do. He just reads you. Or it can be she as well, of course. No
Yeah.
offense to the ladies,
Um
but go ahead.
I don't think there's anyone that I don't want to face in tournament, and not because I think I can beat everyone like easily, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's because if they're like every game in a tournament, like even SNR Plat, who I think is better than me, um, I want to verse him in a tournament. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I want to become better than him, right?
Correct.
And the only
Mm-hmm.
way I'm going to be able to do that is if I am able to deconstruct his playstyle and if I'm able to beat him. The only way I'm going to be able to prove to others and myself that I'm better than him is if I do beat him in tournaments. So, and in order to do that, I have to verse him.
That is true. Still, if there was one name that you had to give that you would not like to face, or just you don't want to, okay, let's just say
Or
not want to,
or
you
like think
just,
I would lose to them, like think I would
mm-hmm,
lose to them,
yeah.
then that would definitely be SNR Plat.
All right, so as you probably already know, Sinnerplat belongs to PDX. What are your thoughts on their club as a
I think
competitive club?
I think they're very good. The very good community they have there also. Um,
Mm-hmm,
like I know they're very rigorous with things and also like they've if when it comes to competitive Temtem, the competitive like meeting hub is the PDX channel pretty much, the PDX Discord channel pretty much, right? It's not always the competitive Temtem chat on the official Discord is a very good place to get competitive resources, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But
That's true.
um it's not the first place I would go.
Correct. And I would agree
Yeah.
with you. Like, they are really organized, whether it's a new patch or something, they work in coordination. And I think they are, we can call it, they're, one of the one of the clubs who have the most dedicated people towards competitive scene. And they are always trying to bring it up, take it up a
Yeah.
notch kind of thing. Like, we have so many clubs in Temtem. We have a lot of clubs that do the same thing as well, but having the same amount of people that are there, like putting their all in for just competitive scene, I think even I would say that PDX probably has the most of those people who are always there for competitive integrity, like working on competitive scene, trying their best to get the resources up,
Yeah.
like I know
Like,
Ronin has a lot of high level players, but also legacy. We mostly focus on new players, all the new players. I try to provide them with resources. I try to make as many guides as possible, but we are more focused on new players and trying to honing up their skills so that they can participate in tournaments, right? Ronin, I believe, gets the same vibe as well. They have a lot of cheerful people, a lot of people across all the games, because I remember that almost everyone in Ronin is playing all kinds of games, and they are multiple variety kind of gamers, and all of them are mostly around diamond plat and most of the other games that they play as well. So they are highly skilled gamers in Ronin. Same with like in Legacy, there are other people as well who play other games and stuff. But for PDX,
Yeah.
I see that they play variety games, but very little. Most of them are, hardcore dedicated to the competitive part of Temtem, and they are just trying to make
Yeah.
it better and better. And Tottenham's Garden is itself a proof, that they dedicated a website for competitive part of Temtem.
Oh, Tornai's Garden is th- what we needed in the competitive scene. The fact that Gold and SNR Plat are doing that is amazing.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is
honestly,
true.
shout out to Tort's Garden. If you guys don't know what Tort Knight's Garden is, it's a competitive resource place for people for beginners, for veterans, just anyone trying to get into competitive Temtem. Also, they have Temtem guides, they have Elo leaderboards, they have event calendars, they have even price guides and like a tier list and stuff like that. So it's it's all in all a very good place to go for competitive like information.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I mean, links are always there in the description because I always support them as well. They are doing a really good thing for Temtem in general, and I really appreciate that myself as well. So, going on to the next question, you yourself are a member of competitive club called Ronin. So, what's the culture over there, and are the speed memes actually true that people keep on saying 500 speed Ronin players, CAC Ws, and stuff?
Honestly, no, it's not. um, Most people like if anything, the fastest player that I have versed recently is either Fulik or Lila. I mean,
Uh
neither of
huh.
them are part of Ronin. That used to be a really big Ronin thing. Like literally, I'm pretty sure at one point, uh, Alola's Nidrazil outsped like a Gaialis or something in early Kisiwa.
That is so
And
funny.
people lost their crap because of that. um, like that, and then also you had Funky How, which was also really is also still a prominent aggro player. But like he would also run his stuff fast. But then like as time went on, they instead of just playing 500 speed, 500 attack, they started thinking about their spreads. Not saying like people who run 500 speed don't think about their spreads. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
500 speed, 500 attack people don't most likely don't think about their spreads very much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they stopped putting in 500 speed, 500 attack, and started like, hey, I just need just enough speed for this situation, and I can put enough points into this, for this situation, right? Put enough bulk in to survive this, but then I can outspeed them. I can outspeed their ally and stuff like that. Um, so at the moment, no, the memes about Ronin are not true.
So coming back to Ron, how's the culture over there like? What do you guys usually focus about? I mean, of course, Club Wars is a thing, and I'll touch on that in a little bit, but tell me some stuff about Ron, like what is your guys' focus and what are you guys looking forward to? Like what's coming next for Ronin as a club?
Honestly, we're just one big family over there. I'm sure a lot of clubs can relate to this.
Uh-huh.
Um, we just want it, in a sense of Temtem, right?
Yeah.
We just want to help other people or each other like grow, succeed, get better at the game. And when it comes to outside of Temtem, we're just you have the whole spectrum, okay? You
Mm-hmm.
have like Tiki, who is for the famous Tiki book. Tiki is just I don't know. He's the person that gets picked on in the club, but he knows everyone knows it's jokes at the end of the day. Then we have Ricky. Ricky's the man who will not second guess telling you what he thinks, which is hilarious. Um, and then we have like Silent, who is kind of the peacekeeper of it all. We have the whole spectrum over there. It's just one big group that is a lot of fun to be with, honestly.
I mean, that is how I would sum up Legacy as well. It's, we all have our moments kind of thing. And It's good to have a positive community, and I really hope that Temtem in future as well, keeps growing with these kind of players coming in and more people who are positive coming in. But as they say, as the game grows more and more, there will be ripened apples as well coming in. So we probably need to filter some of them out. Now, coming
Yeah.
to Club Wars, Rishi, how is Ronin doing in Club Wars and how likely are you guys to win the whole thing? What are your thoughts on Club Wars? I mean, it is on a hold for last week and probably maybe this week as well, but it's still being scheduled. We will see about that. But what do you think about Ronin's standing on current Club Wars and what are you guys thinking about? Do you guys think you guys can wrap up the whole thing and take it home? Or is it going to be
Oh,
a tough fight?
I think, hey, we didn't join. I'll say this, okay? We didn't come. We didn't join Club Boys thinking going for second place. Okay,
I'd
we
say
joined Club Boys going for first.
I see. That is an answer, okay? I was not expecting that answer. I was like, we will try our best and he will say something like that. We will try our best and we will make it happen. But your answer is like, bring it on. We don't fear anyone. We will be taking this home.
Hey, we will be trying our best, but no, we're not gonna be trying our best. We're gonna be doing our best. Okay,
Hmm.
and we'll be damned if that's not good enough.
I see. Well, Rishi, it was really fun and engaging to have this wonderful conversation with you, but it appears that we are almost running out of time. So, is there anything else you would like to add before we close our first episode for today?
Yeah. So as you guys know, as I mentioned earlier, I am a streamer. That streams Temtem and some other games from time to time. But mostly Temtem. You can find me at twitch.tv/Mr.Rishi, MRRISHI, the name you see above your screen. And I would like to say, Saga, it's been amazing. I've had an amazing time on this podcast. It was a lot of fun talking to you. It's always a good time talking to you, honestly, whether we're bantering or beating each other down in a comp game or on a podcast. I really do appreciate it.
I mean, it is lovely to have a guest like you with us, and I'm possibly very positive that we will have more episodes down the line with Mr. Rishi as well, guys. But all right, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. This was episode 1 for the Legacy podcast, and I will be continuing with episode number 2, which is going to be on different archetypes. And our special guest is going to be Mr. Subaki. I will be excited to see you guys in the next podcast. And if you guys like the content that you're watching, then please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification button to get notified of the new uploads, new guides, or new podcasts. So, with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next podcast and see you later, guys.
Hey, see you later, guys.